Akoni has been a client of Bureau van Dijk for about a year now. And prior to that, I actually was familiar with the FAME product because I used it at London Business School when studying my MBA. And that created some familiarity with the Bureau van Dijk brand. In terms of our experience, we have really enjoyed working with the company, and in particular feel that we've received exceptional service far beyond what I would see a startup would usually receive, and that is, I think, due to James and Tom, who look after us very well from the sales and on the servicing side. One of the reasons that we selected Bureau van Dijk for their partnership is because we see that this international expansion is perfectly matched to over 200 million companies' financial and company ownership data. This can be utilized for our platform as well as the personalized products provided to SME businesses. We use FAME, Orbis, and Compliance Catalyst, and we use both the analytics functions as well as the live APIs that are provided by Bureau van Dijk. This is primarily utilized in 4 business stages within Akoni. The first stage is the simple marketing, where we utilize propensity to buy. We take the full company's house data set of 5.2 million companies, and through a range of financial variables and ownership criteria, we assess and determine the size and identification of the addressable market. This leads us directly into stage 2, which is the AML pre-filtering. Our aim is to make things as frictionless as possible for companies to onboard. In order to do so, we take the stage 1 data set and upload this using Compliance Catalyst to predetermine those companies who do not have PEPs, sanctions, and any adverse conditions against their particular ownership or directors. We then utilize this for marketing and business development purposes and categorize particular clients for the relevant activities that we then follow. This leads us into stage 3, where a client can onboard automatically online. We utilize our data from stage 2, which then is live checked again in case there were any changes in the period from the pre-AML filtering. This in turn means that they have a much better user experience, and again we verify all the data using Compliance Catalyst as well as APIs which come via Orbis and FAME. The 4th stage is the personalization of the products for the business itself. An example of this is what we call our Financial Bootcamp report, which is a best practice series of guidance tailored to a specific company and benchmark to their peer group. This is we utilize for sector and size using revenue and number of employees in order to determine this. We then provide very tailored guidance and tips in order for a business to improve or identify financial weaknesses and, if necessary, explore more detail relating to their financial performance. In the UK, there are 5.2 million SMEs, and most of them are very simple in structure and can have a simple onboarding process. We started Akoni and reviewed the JML, SG, and AML guidance with the aim for making an easy and user-friendly experience for these businesses. We first use pre-filtering, whereby we utilize Compliance Catalyst's upload function, and from that determine those who have simple structures, UK beneficial ownerships, and UK directors. Then the next stage is the live onboarding. We do a live API integration, whereby we utilize the Compliance Catalyst APIs to again perform verification on company structures, directors, and ownership, as well as some other criteria which we use for our commercial purposes. There is an example in the London market currently of a new fintech that has already launched using a short onboarding process, and the FCA themselves have already stated that current legislation should be no barrier for a fully digital onboarding and identification process. This is where we see the future is in delivering services to SMEs. There's going to be a massive change from both financial institutions as well as a range of technology providers. The financial institutions themselves will need to be able to embrace the technology and the changes that data can bring, both to benefit themselves as well as to benefit, in particular, the commercial client base. There's an entire range of categorization as well as AML onboarding that can be simplified for the majority of business customers. Businesses can work together with the banks to deliver this change, in particular for fintech startups who are embracing innovation in this space. At Akoni, we see the global applicability of our approach. Obviously, each country has its own set of legislation relating to ownership and financial data for companies. And on this basis, our platform is tailored to provide specific services via financial institutions for SME clients. We're working at a very early stage with 2 financial partners in the EU, and the force of nature that is data provision will be pushed out further by open banking, which has to come into play by 2018. This is across the EU, and we see that this trend of transparency will continue in other countries outside of the EU. We like working with Bureau van Dijk because we see the company as having the widest possible coverage of private company data for our analytics and data sets.